now listening to the Gabba Gabba Hunt Talks podcast, where we bring you conversations with people connected to the Carolinas underground music scene.
Kind of a little weird, grunge is to like 60s garage.
Yeah.
As it is to you to them.
Yeah.
It's like, it's 30 years ago now.
Yeah, that's why I said that. I told him, I was like, you're on that 30-year curve. That's a pretty good curve to be on, because when I was their age, I was listening to stuff that came out 30 years before I was born. Yeah. 30 years before I was listening to music or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to be aware of the past and still know what's going on today in music.
And without knowing your past, you can't figure out a way forward. If you don't know what people are doing today, you don't know what they're doing wrong, right?
Yep, exactly. So I think it's cool. It's good. There's some kids in the scene that are playing music and they're playing interesting stuff. They're not following trends. They've latched on to me too, so that's good, because, I want them to be involved in all this, because I want them to do well. I want them to keep playing, because I started when I was their age. And, without that encouragement, I might not still be doing it today.
Yeah. How it's set up now, there are no all ages clubs. So there's OSO, I guess, but it's hard to get a lot of people out to these shows, especially in the younger crowd. And so we're not getting a new generation of kids to come in. So we really rely on having the old generation and the young generation kind of come together.
Yeah. And
play together and have shows together and things. Otherwise, as separate blocks, not that big. So.
And that's what I love about our scene, is that we really do. We mix it up a lot, not with just genres, but, you have kids in their, 18, 19, 20 playing with bands of people in their, late 40s, early 50s. And we all get along. We all support each other. It's kind of cool. I would say there's still probably some division in the Charlotte music scene, but I think as far as heavy music goes, punk, hard rock, heavy metal, to a certain extent, we mix it up pretty well in Charlotte.
Yeah, I think, I know in 2017, early 2018, when we really started playing Boron Heist.
Yeah.
I think the big thing helping, the big two clubs bringing everybody together in that way were probably Skylark and the Keg and Q.
Yep.
A ton of shows for people who couldn't get in anywhere else. And also a lot of cross-genre shows,
Yeah.
So we were playing with Warpath a lot then, and Morganton. It was a good experience,
Whenever we can book a show or play a show with a band that's a lot heavier than we are, I think it's really cool. And we've tried to book some shows with some bands that are a little bit more mellow than we are, and it just hasn't worked out quite so far. So,
I got you.
But it will happen. It'll happen.
We've had a few of those too, mostly out of towners coming through.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure what they're playing, and we jump on a show to kind of help out. Doesn't work out so much, but yeah, I feel that too.
Yeah, I've got some friends that play in bands that aren't punk bands, but they're all people that come from the scene that I'm looking forward to trying to put shows together with in the future. So it'll be fun to have some indie rock mixed in with it.
Yeah, when you talk about garage rock, punk rock, and indie rock, alt rock, some of these distinctions are going to be so close, since everybody's kind of playing cross genre, and there are a lot of people who are trying to play, I think, too specific to their genre.
Yeah,
more open. So it can work really easily. Coachella and stuff like that is kind of evidence of that. All the bands are kind of weird in a way.
Yeah. So I'm talking to Cody Ward you were from the Boron Heist. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. I don't know what the status of all that is. Put out a sort of cryptic message on Facebook. It wasn't completely cryptic, but it wasn't real straightforward. I like the way you talk. I'll say that real quick. I really like the way you write. Really cool style that you got. So anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. But it's probably really no mystery how you got into cool music, because your dad, anybody that doesn't know, your dad is Mad Brother Ward, Russ Ward from Anti-Scene.
He was a Virginia kid. He came down to Charlotte with his parents, I think, in his early high school years.
Yeah.
And was big into heavy metal. Eventually found a group of weird friends in high school, turned them on to Anti-Scene.
Yep.
And from there, he started going out and hanging out. Met my mom at the Pterodactyl Club, from what I understand. From there, he just decided he needed to have a band. Jeff Clayton gave him that name, Mad Brother Ward.
Yep.
For a few years, kicked around, and then I was born, and that was that for a little bit.
Yep. And I'll talk to your dad at some point. We'll get his whole backstory. I like that there's a nice little encapsulation of his backstory, so that's good. So, we know that your dad likes good music. But beyond just Anti-Scene, he likes good music. He's a music fan, a huge music fan, and someone whose opinion I respect when it comes to music. Because he knows what he's talking about, and he likes good stuff.
Yeah.
So we know you got turned on to good music real early on in age, probably. I mean, I don't know how much music was on around when you were younger.
So it's kind of weird, man. Like, so my mom and him got divorced when I was younger.
Yeah.
And at some point, you know, I wasn't around a lot of that music, or I was at an age where, he couldn't turn me on to Velvet Underground if he wanted to. It was just too weird.
Yeah, yeah.
But, when I was a little kid, I would apparently sit there and listen to the MC5 and sing Animal and Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Kiss as my first show, but never really latched on to any of the punk rock, proto punk, or anything like that beyond maybe the Ramones, Misfits.
Yeah.
Until I was in college. Before that, it was just heavy metal, man.
Yeah.
Like high school, I was big into metalcore and a lot of death metal, black metal, and things like that. For a time there, I had like a little group of friends. We never went out and played shows, but we always jammed for once or twice a week sometimes.
Yeah.
Some of those guys are Mikey Black, plays in the fill-ins now.
Yeah.
Owen, who's my singer now, Owen Sykes. We would just kind of jam and stuff and figure it out. And then I got into college, stopped playing for a long time, kind of got really big into study, and I was reading like a book a day sometimes and just really focusing on that. And then my senior year, I started to get back into music, listening to, Velvet Underground, MC5, Stooges, Sonics, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Big turnaround, though, that got me to want to play again was went to Japan in, I think, 2015, fall 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was there, I was in Kyoto, and I heard Guitar Wolf was playing Osaka.
Oh, yeah.
I've always liked Guitar Wolf. People over here show me videos and stuff since I was like 12, just really crazy, loud, abrasive noise rock.
Yeah.
I like their whole aesthetic. I'd been listening to them on my iPod over there in Japan when I was biking around Kyoto and everything. And so I figured I need to go over there and see these guys. Let me tell you, like, Osaka's a giant city. Japanese people tend to be very conservative in their sentiments and things they do.
Yeah.
If you're into punk rock in Japan, you're like on the outside, like really far outside of the mainstream culture. And so those people at that club were really wild. Included with the package, like, to get a ticket was a drink ticket.
Yeah.
So everybody was fucked up. And they had good supporting acts with them. There's a band from Nashville called Condor.
Mm-hmm.
Became one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
Doing riotous stuff, really loud, trashy garage rock, jumping off stage, off of 80-foot amps, drinking on stage, swallowing their cigarettes, like doing insane shit.
Yeah.
And all the bands that played that night were crowd surfing. I crowd surfed and danced on stage. I saw KG from Guitar Wolf walk on hands like Iggy in 67.
Yeah.
It was just wild. Wild enough that I went to a guitar store immediately, like the day after Kyoto, and started playing again on the guitars that were there.
Yeah.
Trying to pick back up what I could. So when I got back, my friend Owen Sykes had been in this band, The Live Grenades.
This is my gun, it's the ammo, the songs tonight, and my weapons, and all I need. They're explosive, but they don't kill, they change your brain. As long as something's wrong, until you stop the blood, until our revolution, it won't go anywhere.
They had been defunct for a few years by this point.
Yeah.
He had nothing he was doing. And so I was like, man, we need to write some music and get out there and play. Because, like, I'm going to shows and I'm not seeing the thing I want as much out there. Like, I want to replicate that in some way eventually. So that's kind of the impetus for where we started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Live Grenades, that was Owen.
So that was, let me think. Alex from the Villains played in it for a while as a bass player.
Yeah.
Then two of my friends, Miguel Cohen was on guitar, and I think Najee Lee played drums. They went through a lot of bass players in the early incarnations.
Yeah.
Functionally, it was a winged band, though.
Okay.
Everybody in the band at the start was from Winged University.
Yeah.
That's how they all kind of met. That's how I started hanging out with those guys a lot, too.
Okay.
But they kicked around for a few years in Charlotte, played some shows. Just kind of Bad Brains influenced punk rock.
Yeah.
Those were good times, you know. That's where I started getting my teeth wet with going out and helping in roadieing, doing merch and things like that.
Yeah. So, as a kid, did you ever get dragged out to any shows at Milestone or anything like that?
It wasn't a ton. I think for some of those big anti-scene anniversary shows, I was dragged out for those and had a good time. And then when my dad picked up with Mad Brother Ward and the Dividers in the early 2000s, I went and saw some of those shows. One of the coolest ones was the one where he opened up for the Ramones. Yeah. I think it was just funky Ramones, you know, but still really cool to go out and hear those songs, see my dad open for that. But beyond that, it was like I saw the Misfits once up in Charlotte, and then everything else was pretty much heavy metal, Children of Bodom shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. When I was a teenager, before we discovered punk rock and stuff, we were going to like hard rock and heavy metal shows, but it was like, you know, Iron Maiden and, you know, bands like Van Halen and Aerosmith and Great White, Tesla, bands like that. But then, you know, discovered punk rock, and I was all about the Milestone after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I took the heavy metal route into it too, but heavy metal was a lot different back then than it was when, you know, what you were listening to.
There were a lot of different clubs out there too. Yeah. You know, the scene like 1313, Pterodactyl, Heretics. I wish I was around for some of that stuff, you know? Yeah. But of course, that whole generation might say the same thing about like the Spider and the Web and stuff like the garage rock clubs that were on in the teen clubs of the 60s. So. Yeah, everybody looks at the previous generation and goes, oh, I wish I had that. But, you know, I just think we should appreciate the things that we have now. And, you know, I'm glad that all that stuff came before. And I'm glad there's a history. I'm glad I'm a part of that history of the Milestone. But I'm still glad there's a history of the Milestone before I was around. It just kind of helped everything get to where it is now. So that history's there, but enjoy what you've got now. You never know what's going to be there next year, especially right now. Everything's so uncertain that part of it kind of sucks really bad. That's one reason I started up I've got a page I just started up called The Garage Gods of Charlotte. Yeah. And it's just like trying to look at the garage rock and noise rock bands of the past and the present, trying to show like there is a continuum in these bands' existence, and we've always had garagey bands in Charlotte. Yeah. Because a lot of that history's lost to people, you know. Like I said, I grew up around anti-scene and Mad Brother Ward and around the punk thing. And I knew a lot of people who played in Charlotte, but until maybe a year ago, I had no clue that there was even a scene in the 60s. Yeah. There were a ton of bands like the Griffs and the Paragons that kind of ushered in, the stuff we enjoy today in terms of having clubs and having live music. Yeah. And that's cool that you're doing that. I mean, because I eventually want to, go back a little bit further than 40 years with what I'm doing here, but I've been in it for about 30 years. And I'm pretty aware of the stuff that happened the previous 10 years. Everything from the 80 through, I can, relate to at least. That's when punk rock came through Charlotte or came through the Carolinas. And so I can go back that far. But if I start digging into the 70s and 60s, I'm going to need some help, or I'm going to need to do a lot more research. But yeah, there's a great history of music here in this area. And that goes way, way back. It's good to bring that to light. And it's one of the reasons I'm doing the thing I'm doing, is because I don't want the stuff that I listened to in the 90s to be forgotten about. And I think it's time people shine a light on not just that, but the stuff that's going on today with the people that were playing in those bands. I mean, I think it's important, like, in the 60s and the 50s, every region had a sound, right? There was a Detroit sound, there was a Seattle sound, an LA sound, and so on and so forth, New York sound. And over time, it's kind of become more and more fused that way. Like, there aren't sounds per areas, I feel like. I think Charlotte can be a holdout in that way. We've always been like a punk metal sort of place that fuses genre. And, of course, we'll lose that if we don't remember where we came from, what type of music we had in the past, and the trends that were developed. I would like to build upon that in certain ways. Yeah. And so you study music a little bit, don't you? Or you study the history of music? Is this
because you've written blogs before on music. Is this something you do just as a hobby, or talk about that a little bit?
It's a hobby. When I started getting back into proto-punk and everything like that, I really wanted to understand what was going on in the areas where it was evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So, I picked up pretty much all the Lester Bangs books I could, and Lenny Kaye, and We Got the Neutron Bomb, Please Kill Me, all these testaments about early punk in different eras.
Yeah.
And about what was going on in the 60s as well, and how it leads up into punk. So I just wanted to understand what was going on with this, what types of genres were forming the development of the genre, and why 76 was so eclectic, while 81, to me, seems more uniform.
Yeah.
It's just a hobby of mine, reading up about these things, but I really like to, find the links between the music, understand, okay, here's where the Sonics got their influences to be, the first punk band. It's interesting to me. There's a book right now that I'm reading called There Was a Time.
Yeah.
I think pretty much anybody in the Charlotte scene, interested in the Charlotte scene, should probably pick up if they get a chance. It's just about garage rock in North Carolina, 60s, and how bands here influence bands outside of the region. I think it's important to go back and look the past so you can understand the path forward.
Yeah. I just think it's cool that you've become a student of music, without it being something that you're aspiring to for a career, or, maybe someday you would like to write for a nice prestigious publication or something and make some money. But, it's still something that you've taken up because you just love music.
I feel like it's one of those things I'd like to do down the line, is write more about music.
Yeah.
Of course, there are certain things that I'd like to write about now that I may submit for Gabba Gabba Hub.
Oh, yeah. I got to get on that.
For the most part, I think of the role of critic and performer as separate in a way. Like, almost any time someone tries to transcend that, move from writing about stuff into actually doing it, they have to completely get rid of the writing.
Yeah.
So you look at the French New Wave and film, they had to stop writing to become filmmakers, good filmmakers. Or vice versa, musicians probably should stop playing if they want to just do writing.
Yeah.
See, because I think sometimes anyway, because especially if you write about your own scene, I don't want to write a write-up about my own. I would feel kind of conflicted doing that.
Yeah, see.
But may not about other people's. And it may burn bridges, too, if I'm too heavy-handed with criticism or something.
And you bring up a lot of great points and things I have to deal with when I'm doing the zine. And luckily, I'm not doing it from, let me write this big 5-page or 5-paragraph review of this album. I want to just put it out there with the highlight of this is what it kind of sounds like. It's a fun album. You should listen to it. My reviews are all from a musician's viewpoint. And so they're going to not look for the bad. It's going to be promoting the good parts of it. So I'm not going to be super critical. I'm just going to put it out there and be like, you should listen to this. Give it a chance. Here's what it sounds like. Give this a chance. You don't have anything to lose. Spotify's out there. You have nothing to lose. And so if I did want to take that step and become more of a writer, more of a critic to write, longer record reviews, I would have to step away from it because, like you said, you got to be careful about what you say and what, whose feelings you hurt. And, there was even one review that I wrote of the fill-ins. When I wrote it in Word, I highlighted part of it in yellow. I was like, I'm going to go back and look at this later and make sure they're not going to get mad about this. But it was just, I was comparing them to like some of the hard rock bands in the 80s. And I don't think it's I think it's a fair comparison because what they do is a lot like that. Because those bands got lumped in with hair metal. Yeah. A lot of those bands weren't really like that. They just had the look and everything. Like Junkyard. They were just like they were a dirty rock and roll band with a tinge of punk. But they got lumped in with hair metal and they ran with it because it was good for them.
Exactly.
But anyway, so I kind of sat on that for a little while, and after a while I was like, I'm not saying anything bad about it because I love this music and because I think it's a fair comparison. And Alex didn't seem to be bothered by it. But I was a little bit worried about that. And I definitely can't write about Van Huskins. I'm not going to review our album for sure. I'll mention us and I'll play us on the podcast and I'll play us, when I do the live stuff. But I haven't even done a Van Huskins episode yet. It's going to happen, but I haven't done it yet.
Everybody makes mistakes. Shout out to rehabilitation. We ain't got no time to do the fucking thing. To hell with the machine. It's not like you murder somebody.
like I said, I've written a few reviews. When I started getting ready to do the band, I wrote a few reviews about shows I had been to that influenced me. And I had like a 5-part review of Guitar Wolf. One of the shows I wrote about a little bit, I think it involved this band No Power, No Crown.
Yeah.
And I reviewed their set and said they were pretty solid on their original material, but their original material was a quarter of their set, and I wish they would write more original stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I really pissed off the guitar player in that band by saying that.
Oh.
But, you know, I think it was more in all good fun, but he was like, I'm coming after you.
Trust me, I mean, things like that have happened. I'm trying to think. I think there were a couple of little things that happened when we did the first 2 issues of the zine back in 96, 97. A couple of people got their feelings hurt a little bit about a couple of things. It's that line you tread with being, you know, honest, or just trying to be a little bit, have fun with it, but be honest but not saying anything bad about it. But even when you don't say something bad, sometimes people take it in the wrong way, because you never know how somebody interprets it. They might take that one thing, that one little criticism. I wish they had more original music. They'd be like, what the hell are they talking about? You know, people get riled over the weirdest things sometimes.
But it's, you know, you have 2 sides of the coin. When you go out there and you perform and you put out music and put it into the world, it's not yours anymore at some level. It's everybody's. They get to review it however slanderously or positively they want. You know?
Yeah. That's true. That's like we sent the CD off to Razor Cake, and I never even posted the review on Facebook or anything, because it just, after I read the review, I was like, this guy didn't even listen to the record. He didn't even listen to the CD. He didn't need to talk about the music. He mentioned like he mentioned all of our names, what we played, where we're from, and then said everything just kind of sounded the same. That it was good enough, but every song sounded like the song before it or something like that. And I'm just like, dude, you didn't even listen to the record. But, you know, I sent it out there and was like, okay, hoping somebody that listened to it liked it. At least he didn't say it sucked, but it was just like it was a non-review. I'm like, why did I even waste my time?
Yeah, exactly. We sent our EP out last year to a few different places. I think like the Big Takeover at MNR, Razor Cake. And Razor Cake was the only one to give us a review, too, from what I remember. Yeah. But it was like really short, you know. It's like, reminds them of exploited meets, like boy punk sort of thing. You know? And small comment about the lo-fi quality, you know, something like that. But it wasn't a bad review. It was just really short, lacking substance. You know?
Well, I mean, that's what I do with Gabba Gabba, is I write those little short reviews. I call them like the maximum rock and roll type reviews. It's a paragraph, and you kind of give an idea what it sounds like, and yay or nay kind of deal with it.
Yeah,
which is what I expect, and we've gotten some good reviews in the past from that. Some of them weren't necessarily great reviews, but they were funny reviews, and we love them. But you know, it's you take a chance whenever you send it to somebody like that, because you're putting it in the hands of somebody that has no context to who you are, no idea what your scene is like. They're putting it on, listening to this, like, you know, what if I, you know, pick this up in a record store randomly?
They're like, what does this sound like to me? So, yeah, it's true. It's probably the best you can do.
Yeah, and I would at least like for the person to listen to it and go, this kind of sounds like this, instead of saying, well, Mike Phillips plays bass and Eric Huskins, and it's just like, it was a waste of space. It was like he was definitely filling up space going, he had to write a review for it. And he didn't want to listen to it, so he just kind of put it on and skipped through the songs and went, okay, everything sounds like, got the same guitar tone, it sounds the same.
That really sucks, especially when, you know, you have to send, what is it, like, at least 2 or 3 copies out to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're paying out of your pocket for those things.
Yeah.
And the shipping cost and everything. I think for us, the cost to send to 5 reviewers was something like $60 after shipping and the cost of the product. At this point, I think it's good to send to those kind of reviewers in the hopes that you get something, but I don't even know if it does anything for press anymore.
I don't
Probably
either.
the better thing would be to send to your local record companies or people you actually know who can rep you in the region.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, Mystery School Records is so cool. River Monster Records is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And also Here to Ruin Your Groove, Toby out of Germany. We sent him a whole merch package of our stuff out of Germany. And then he put us on the upcoming comp for Here to Ruin Your Groove Volume 666.
Yeah.
And that's coming out next week. It's going to be pretty cool. It's got, I think, Himbry and Satan Sisters, Ryuketsu Blizzard, who just played with the anti-scene in Japan. whole bunch of other really good kind of scummy rock bands.
Yeah.
Confederacy of Scum sort of punk.
Yeah.
I know they be gun at my head, but you never seem to pull the trigger. And I'm standing waiting to be dead, while you try to make your ego bigger. Fuck your empty threats, you can't bluff with no vets. You never walk dead, those on just your breath.
I mean, who knows, like, as we continue to grow the scene, and if after COVID-19 we get a surge in attendance to shows, or even a new venue or something like that, then there's a big chance that the scene could open up in a much bigger way. Because, I mean, right now we're sitting at 1.1 million people in Mecklenburg County, like something like 2.5 million people in the metropolitan region.
Yeah.
We're the biggest city, I think, on the southeast U.S. Like, we're bigger than Atlanta now.
Yeah.
And I think we've surpassed even Miami, like, in terms of straight population. So we have the resources there to keep growing the scene. We just need to have outlets to say, hey, we're here, and we're trying to put out the best we can. So come out and have fun at the shows, you know?
Yeah, and if somebody would just take notice of the scene, I really do think there's a lot to offer. And that's not just talking about our part of the scene. That's talking about the whole scene in Charlotte as well. Because I watch these, I watch these other people that play music that I don't generally go and see, and they're amazingly talented. There's some great stuff out there in this area. And there's a lot of music fans in this area, but people just have to have a reason to get up off the couch. And maybe the fact that everybody's being forced to sit on their couches for a few months, maybe on the other side of all this, maybe people will start to go back outside again. Maybe we'll be sick of the internet and sick of Netflix and sick of, Disney Plus or whatever you're currently watching on TV or doing at home. You're going to be done. You're going to be sick of it. And then you're already sick of it. You're ready to go out. But I don't think it's going to happen right away, because I think that even on the other side of this, people are going to be afraid to go out for a little while. But if we're patient with it, and if enough of us can get out and support the places that we love to keep them afloat, maybe, eventually it'll really pay off.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's important right now, I think, to have more and more zines, more and more cooperation between the record companies we have and the record stores we have and the venues we have and the bands, And I think we're pretty tight-knit, and we're, I think, successfully at this point cycling information about each other. So if you have seen shows at Tommy's, you're going to know about Repo Record and River Monster Records. Or if you know about Mississippi School Records, you know about what's going on with the Wilmington scenes like Street Clones, but you've also heard about Self-Made Monsters, Thing Sloth, R.I.P., and, all that.
Yeah. So let's get back to, I guess we sort of left off with Boron Heist. You said you and Owen started talking about starting a band, and then we just kind of left off there and got on a side tangent, which is good, because that's kind of how I want this episode to go. So let's talk a little bit about Boron Heist and how you got that all started.
At the time, I was listening to a lot of the garage rock revival stuff that was going on in the early 2000s, a lot of White Stripes, a lot of Hives, a lot of Strokes, but as well as a lot of Sonics, Stooges, MC5, It's getting big into glam rock, like T-Rex, and I just wanted to do something that could emulate the intensity of that, the simplicity of it, and be, a garagey sort of approach to punk rock or rock and roll.
Yeah.
And started looking around for people after writing a little bit. Heard about Mark Irvin up in Cherryville. Everybody knows Mark in the scene. He's been around forever. Had a band earlier called Teenage Strangle, and been in a lot of other bands. And he was just a really cool resource right at the beginning, because we hit it off right at the beginning. He knew everything that I knew about music, plus some. He introduced me to a ton of really cool stuff, and he helped me figure out, in terms of gear, what type of stuff I should probably be looking at.
Yeah.
I lucked out at the beginning. A friend of mine a few years ago bought a really beat-up guitar for me at a second-hand shop for $5. And
oh, wow.
I cleaned it up. Yeah, I cleaned it up and everything. I de-rusted certain areas of it, restrung it. That's my Epiphone Riviera 95.
Oh, wow.
Turns out it was made in the Peerless factory in South Korea, which I think is one of the best Epiphone factories in the country or in the world. And so it's just a really good guitar that I lucked into for nothing. Then on top of that, once I started looking for cabs, I wanted something that would emulate Billy Zoom's Breakup in X. So I started looking at older, older Fender cabs and things like that, deluxe reverbs, Bluesvilles. They're just way outside of my price range. And then I found this guy on Craigslist who had 2 Bassman 10s, 1972, a pair of them. And he only wanted $850 for the pair. Yeah. And so I saved up some money and I swooped those up. And basically I had my core stuff right there. We found a drummer. We started practicing for a long time. It was maybe like 6 or 7 months before we ever did a show. Yeah. Then we came out the gate. I think we came out swinging, and we started playing a lot of shows at the Keg and Q, Skylark, Milestone, and eventually just picking up a little bit more steam. So it's been a good run. We've been doing it for about 2.5 years playing, about 3 years practicing together, and then we put out the EP, Ridin Rough, which was a lot of fun. Came out through Mystery School Records. It's gotten some good reviews. Razor Cake, through Gabba Gabba, and through a few online publications and things like that.
I got a crack in the winches and rhyme above now. Easy's broke, that's too much ache. Back till I'm gonna fall out. Riding rough down the road. Riding rough far from home.
And we were getting ready to sit down and record a full LP. But we just had some internal problems with the sound in terms of certain elements of the band that we needed to fix to progress. And so right now we're taking a break. We can't really practice because we all know people who are immunocompromised potentially die or get really sick if they get coronavirus. And of course no one can play any shows. So we're taking a hiatus until basically everything's over. And when it is, we'll announce. We're going to go ahead with the Boron Heist in the future. There's just going to be some changes in terms of the members and in terms of the sound. I think in the past we kind of, because of certain problems, we would play the songs too quickly and lose where we are. We would lose momentum in a show that was going really well. And so in the future, the hope is that we will have a more stable back line and be able to come out at the level we need to really impress, and have big shows and try to draw people into the scene who wouldn't normally be here.
Well, I knew you said, and that's why I said it was kind of a cryptic message, because to me, I didn't take it as this is the end of Boron Heist, but a lot of people put the crying little emoji or whatever. And but I was, because you said Boron Heist Mach 2 or whatever, or Mach 1 or whatever, in the fall or whenever this is all over. So it's like, okay, so there's some hope. There's something on the other side of this. It just might be a little bit different.
And that's the idea. It's, we want to come back firing on all cylinders. And we want to improve the sound to the point where we feel ready to represent Charlotte with our music. There'll be a lot of big steps once this is all over. And in the meantime, we're just kind of doing projects. Like Owen just got a job at Amazon. He just got a new place with his girlfriend. So he's figuring out a lot of life stuff right now. I think Mark is working, I can't remember with who, but he's working on like a bluesy rock project right now. With
Crystal Crosby, I think.
Yeah, that's right. With Dead Regions, is that right? And I'm starting up a solo project right now.
Well, I think that's one, I guess, silver lining about all this is it's going to cause everybody to kind of slow down a little bit, because we've all, I know, playing in Van Huskins, and I think everybody I've talked to in other bands, we're all, we work full time, and then we've got the band, and we're all pushing the band as hard as we can. But then we've all got these things we want to work on the side, whether it's maybe a solo project or this kind of music I want to play, or maybe I want to really concentrate on trying to get Gabba Gabba going a little bit. Or, well, not really wanted to, but I'm taking advantage of it.
Exactly.
But we've all got these things on the side that we can use to either, maybe advance ourselves or just get better in the meantime. Little projects that can make us more rounded, whether they take off and become full-fledged or not. Everybody's kind of trying something a little bit different right now.
Exactly.
So I think that's one silver lining of all this. And, I'm ready to get back to playing in Van Huskins. I mean, I'm missing it bad. I want to go practice like this week, but I'm still holding off because those numbers, they keep going up. Past few days, they've just went steadily up, and now we're peaking again. I'm like, all right.
Was it 2 days ago we had 450 new cases, and that was the highest rise in cases, right?
Yeah, now it's like...
But then yesterday, 570 cases, and that was the highest rise in cases.
Yeah, so
now we're getting where, at one point they said we're at the peak, 23 deaths in one day, and now it's like 20 deaths a day is kind of the normal.
Yeah. I feel bad because I work. Not necessarily that I want to work. I'd much rather be sitting at home, but of course I'm glad I'm working because for one, I'd be going crazy if I wasn't working. But also financially. But I deliver pizza, so I'm out in the world and I'm going to 15 to 30 houses a day, dealing with customers inside the store, working in close quarters with other people. And so I'm going to do my part and stay the fuck at home when I'm not at work.
Yeah.
So Van Huskins is not practicing right now. And I was kind of thinking last week, me and Eric even talked about it. We met up in a parking lot just to hang out for a few minutes and talk out in the open air.
Yeah.
I said, maybe in a couple of weeks, if the numbers keep going down, we can get back together and practice. And, once things kind of start lifting, maybe, I'll feel better about it. But right now, I want to keep doing my part.
Yeah. And I mean, I think estimates right now are mid-June for the peak in Mecklenburg, which means for us in like Union and Gaston, it's functionally the same peak.
Exactly. Yeah. It's, we're a little bit farther out. Luckily here in Cleveland County and in the area I live in, we're at 6 cases, and that's been since the beginning. Nice. It's grown really slow in the Kings Mountain area. Cleveland County overall is not that huge, but still, I know, we're not that far from Charlotte. So as the numbers keep going up, we're going to have our numbers go up too. Mm-hmm. But it makes me feel a little bit better about going out in the world. I'm like, okay, well, there's only 6 known cases in this area, so I'm good, I think.
Yeah. And see out where I'm at, Union County, like Wingate and Monroe area. Mm-hmm. Union County has almost like 200 cases. Yeah. And I know at our Walmart, which is the only Walmart in the area, there have been cases with employees. So we're a little shit out of luck on figuring it out. But
well, that's all it's going to take here is, say, if I get it or one of the people I work with gets it, all of a sudden, it's not going to be but a few days. Everybody's going to end up having it. And that's all it's going to take for the numbers to explode.
Like I work at Target, and we have a lot of really awesome controls in place. We all have gloves, face masks provided to us by the company. We have cleaning shifts, and we're limiting our capacity to less than the order. I think it's right now about 10% instead of 20%. Yeah. So we're doing everything in our power, but still, you have days where our normal capacity is 3,000 or so we'll have 250 people in the store. And
still looks busy.
50 of them can all be congregated right there in electronics, buying non-essential stuff that we could really just be doing online at this point.
Yeah. That's what I've done. I've went to buying everything online, and I'm not buying a whole lot, but I'm trying to. I go to the grocery store maybe once a week, and that's it. I'm staying in other than work. Now, when I'm at work, I'll stop by the convenience store or something like that, but I'm still like after work, I go straight home. But once a week, I go to the grocery store and stock up, and then I stay home.
And I mean, the thing is, we have certain numbers, but we know we're not testing enough.
Yeah.
I mean, Mecklenburg is the place I've been focusing on the most because that's where I work. I think it's 1,500 cases or so right now, but they're saying we've only caught 5 to 10% of cases based on our positivity rate and based on all these other factors, like 37% of people up to that can be asymptomatic. Mm-hmm. There are people with weird symptoms who can just be spreading it the whole time, not knowing it. And, of course, up to 3 days, you could have it and not get symptoms and then get symptoms. So our case counts could be as high as, what is that, like 15 to 30,000 people with it. And in a city of 1.1 million, now we're looking at less than 1 in 100 people have it. Yeah. Every Target, every Walmart, every hour of every day has more than that amount of people in it.
Oh,
Every food line, every phyllo, and so on and so forth.
Well, that's what I think about our number here, that 6 people. I'm like, that's 6 people known. So that means it's probably at least double that, if not a lot more than that. Probably a lot more than that just don't know they have it or have such mild symptoms, they're not going to the doctor to even be tested. And I'm probably delivering a pizza to a couple of those.
Mm-hmm. It's dangerous out there. I mean, even if you're in good health, from what I'm hearing, all this stuff about it attacking your blood vessels, which will attack your organs. Mm-hmm. If it attacks your lungs, then there's a chance you basically have 70% or worse lung functioning for the rest of your life.
And I already have a hard enough time like climbing 3 flights of stairs. I don't want to have to do it after getting COVID-19. Yeah,
exactly. So I think everybody should definitely stay safe, and hopefully none of these orders are lifted anytime soon. Because that's the number one thing I've realized about all this. I love the ideals of America. I don't love the stuff we do politically throughout the world. But I could always say, I don't like American like government or politicians, but the people are great. And now I'm just like, the people are dumb. Like, a lot of great people in America, but at the same time, there's so many people that just go out, would willfully spread this if they had symptoms.
Yeah, there
probably are.
There definitely are, and that sucks. But I don't know. I think it sucks that capitalism is going to end up killing us all because they're really. And I get it. I understand from an individual perspective. If I wasn't able to work right now and I couldn't get unemployment because either A, I was denied, or B, it's just the system's not working like it should, I'd be freaking out right now. But now, I don't know, man. I agree with trying to slowly reopen things. There's a certain part of me that feels like, I don't know, that we got to figure out a way to move on. But I think it's too soon. It's definitely too soon for things like any kind of salons where you work one-on-one in a confined area with somebody. For movie theaters where, I mean, if you're sitting 6 feet apart from somebody, how many people can they have in the theater?
It's probably over 100 people in any one theater room. So
yeah, but I mean, even so most theaters have, let's say, 100 seats. If you're going to be 6 feet away from the next group, you can probably only have 5 or 6 groups even in that small little area. But they'll put more than that. They'll do a reduced capacity. They'll do 50% or something like that, skip seats or something. But at that, how can you even afford to pay your staff? So when you're doing all these reduced capacity things, or you're doing, a salon does half the number of customers that they do in a day with like an hour of cleaning.
And you have to hire new people.
Yeah, you have to hire
a lot of new people to clean.
Yeah, you have to hire extra people to clean, and then you've got reduced income coming in. It's just going to kill. I don't see any way around the fact that a lot of businesses are going to die from this, regardless of whether we open up early or not.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part of it.
This was, at this point, 25 million filed for unemployment. And plus we've known for so long there are all these people who just are out of employment, don't even search because the job market isn't that great. You have to work 2 jobs if you're living in a big city, to actually support yourself. And so it's like, our numbers may be 20% unemployment. There are only 220 million Americans that are working age.
I on my own, boxing with words, boxing knocked me out with the first blow. My mind is going, my vision blurs. She had me down in one go. Gotta tell you about this girl. So far up on her lips canal. Man, you gotta know about her. She ain't nobody's bed.
So I remember we played our first show together, and we're talking about Keg and Q. I think at Keg and Q. And I don't remember who else played that show right off the top of my head. But I remember that was the first time I met you.
And, I mean, there are so many Keg and Q shows. They all kind of meld together in my mind. It's hard to even pick them out from one another.
Yeah, and I hate that place is gone now, but I know, Jamie was the real reason why that place why we all played shows there. And so when Tommy's opened up, we all just went to Tommy's because Jamie was the one booking the shows that we played there.
Yeah.
So nothing against the venue or the owner or anything. It just that's what happened. And then I think Keg and Q carried on for a little while as primarily a metal club, or they mostly had metal shows for a little while after that. For what it's worth, I really enjoyed that and really appreciated the fact that Keg and Q was there for us when we needed it.
Absolutely. And Kat was awesome. I loved, coming in there and talking to her, and she was always real cool with me. So, and that was the coolest thing. It was just an easy place to play. You could play anytime. They're always looking for people. So you could put together shows knowing that, you're all new bands and you have the appeal to pull out 10 people. Yeah. And yet you could do it and give it your all and build your brand that way. Yeah. I think that was kind of all our stomping ground for doing that. So I really appreciated that for sure. When Tommy's came around and they started having these shows, it was like, it's a really good setup. I mean, number one, it's always free shows. You don't have to man the door. Yeah. There weren't the electrical problems. I heard about a few amps blowing at Keg and Q, and that was one of the things that scared me a little bit. Yeah. And also, you had a big percentage of the tab. I think it's bands get 20% of tab. So the more people you can get in, the more incentive you have to do that. Yeah. One really good thing I think about Tommy's was that bands are putting a lot of money in Facebook ads now, and we're starting to get people out who wouldn't normally be out of these shows.
And the fact that Tommy's is where it is, that was also advantageous. Keg and Q, for what it was a little bit further out. I was out near where Tremont was, and I miss Tremont a lot. But it was, as far as convenience factor, and that plays a big part into people going out to shows these days. Unfortunately, is convenience factor. But for the convenience factor, Tommy's has that.
And not only that, infinite parking. Definitely. You could probably park, 1,000 people all down that lot. Yeah. And since there are shows at night, no one's in the lot, no one cares. So it's the only place that has that much parking, out of pretty much anywhere but the stadiums, Yeah. But I remember coming onto the scene, and I had no clue what bands were playing at that time. I wasn't searching out bands on Facebook very much. The shows I was going to were bigger ones. I went and saw X 3 times. I saw Anti-Scene a lot. I was writing for them some. Yeah. And I saw the Sonics play with Dex Romweber, which was a fantastic show. But I knew about Paint Fumes and Anti-Scene, not much more than that. So once I got out there and started playing, and start playing with you guys and with AM/FMs and the War Boys and Trash Room and Grievous and so on and so forth. Lots of good bands. It was just eye-opening to me that we've got something going on here. And unlike the early 2000s or through the 90s, where a lot of it was really derivative or very genre-based, a lot of street punk, a lot of boy punk, a lot of pop punk, a lot of hardcore punk, we're doing a lot of cross-genre stuff now. Yeah. Which is ultimately, what I think our strength is just how cross-genre we are. Yeah. In terms of the scene as a whole,
That's what's good. I mean, whenever we throw shows or put shows together, I say throw shows, but whenever we put shows together, just trying to find bands that do blend and work well together, but not necessarily all sound the same, which in Charlotte, you don't have a problem with that. Nobody sounds the same in Charlotte. But you can have these shows where they're kind of blend the genres a little bit, because Van Huskins doesn't play punk rock. Van Huskins plays punk rock that's classic rock influenced and heavy metal influenced, and you might hear a ZZ Top influenced part in this, but it's and same with pretty much all the other bands. But everybody's got their own sound. But as far as like all this quote unquote heavy music goes, we all work so well together. I mean, you can put Death of August on the show with Boron Heist and the Fill-Ins and Van Huskins, and that's going to be an excellent show. And everybody that's going to be there, the fans of each other's bands, are going to enjoy the other bands.
And all the fans are fans of all the bands. Yeah, which is the weirdest thing to me, but it's so cool. Like I know a ton of people who are regulars at shows, and they like all of these bands. One thing I'm interested in doing right now too, though, it's a little bit opposite to that end too. Once we start doing shows, it's getting a few more genre-specific shows going, too. Yeah. So, like, the Garage Gods of Charlotte, one of my aims is to try to get more of those bands that are garage rock or psych rock onto my kind of radar and put together more shows like that. There are a lot of great bands that are just straight garage rock. Yeah. Stuff like Heavy Liquid or the Straight Jackets, Alec Miller's bands are fantastic. I like the Paint Fumes a lot, but I even like their side project a lot more, Pleather Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Just kick ass. Good, like, garagey Ramones punk, basically. Feel like the Boron Heist is kind of more traditional punk just because of how the vocals and things work out in both, but
yeah,
there's other bands like Valerian or Modern Primitives and so on and so forth. Just a lot of bands doing straight garage rock, influenced by stuff by like garage rock revival, and bands that are playing now like Ty Segall, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be cool to have a lot of that stuff going on as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can have like a mini fest 2021 or something, you know?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because it probably will be 2021 before we can really start thinking about doing a lot of stuff like that. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people start booking shows already for the fall, and I'm like, I might want to hold off a little bit on that. But I understand if you want to try to at least plan ahead, maybe, I don't know. I don't think it matters so much on a local scale, but I see larger bands booking big shows in the fall, and I'm like, that's probably a lot of money going into booking that when you're going to have to cancel it again.
Yeah, exactly. The smaller bands, it makes sense because they're going to be, we only have so many venues. Everybody's going to be fighting for those first few spots when we do open.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be hard to get a good spot on a weekend at a good venue. Yeah. And so all those are probably going to be taken up for months, I imagine, if you don't do it like as early as possible.
Yeah.
But maybe it is smart because, worst case scenario, you just cancel it. You don't put any ad money into it until maybe 2 weeks before just to make sure we're all good down here. But yeah, big major marketing for a big metal tour is going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they're doing that.
But some of them are. I did want to ask a little bit more about, Boron Heist and the EP that you recorded, Ridin' Rough. You recorded that with Barry Hannibal, right?
Yeah. It's a funny story. We were looking for someone to help us record. We didn't have a lot of money. The time we had been spent, tanking it all into merch, basically trying to get enough merch.
Yeah. T-shirts,
buttons, and all that. So I roadie friend I've seen a lot, and I just asked Barry, I said, hey, would you be able to record us? We can spot you some money. He's like, I'll just do it, man. We're like, really? And he's like, yeah. So we went and talked to him and decided we're going to go do it over at Anti-Scene's practice space.
Yeah.
So we just practiced really hard for a few weeks, didn't do any shows, and we went there, and one day we did all the takes and put it out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty simple process. We just did the old sort of garage style. We played the instruments all at the same time.
Yeah.
And then we did vocals separately, and we have a few gang vocal sections we did separately. So it's probably like 4 tracks or something like that on a 16-track system.
Do you do any guitar overdubs or just one guitar straight?
It was just one guitar straight, but I played through both amps at one time.
Yeah.
And so I managed to get like a 2-guitar sound with slightly different settings on each amp.
Yeah.
And then after that, he sent us the stuff. I talked to John Bowman of the War Boys, and also co-founder and operator of Mystery School Records.
Yeah.
And he mastered it for us.
Yeah.
It was a big blessing that those two helped us out so much. Big shout out to you guys. Like, you guys are the reason that EP made it out without absolutely breaking us,
It's nice to have friends that can help out. We worked with John, and John's a great guy, and I've made sure to pay John too, but it's just nice to have talented friends that can do stuff like that. And, John, I got him to master the EP that we just did, even though we recorded that with Brandon. I got him to master it for us. So it's nice to have those people like in our back pocket that we can use to help out with things like that help them out, help us out, and everything. I like having friends. When I open it up and I read the liner notes, I like seeing friends' names, not just people that I worked with or people that I paid.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things about building camaraderie and building cooperation too. Like, not only do all the record companies rep the bands and the venues, but we have all that listed in our credits, if you will, on the records. And on that EP, we were trying to figure out what to do in terms of putting it out. Obviously we're all independent here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
We're not going to get on like a label that'll pay for anything, but we have labels that will help promote and labels that will help sell in their own shops and their own towns. And so I got up with Mystery School Records because Bowman was working on this. And John Bridges of the Street Clones out in Wilmington was very happy to give us a catalog number.
Yeah.
and to give as much promotion as he could on the site and through their various social media platforms. So we went ahead and put it out through Mystery School Records. We had a big EP release show with War Boys and Trash Room, I think it was. I think that was right. That was our biggest show I think we've done headlining. We completely packed the place out. It was like, I think almost a $1,500 bar or something like that. We sold a lot of merch. So it was a really good night.
Yeah.
And after that, that's where we had some problems. We tried to put out the CD through CD Baby, and on the EP, it says Boron Heist on the front, not the Boron Heist.
Yeah.
And because we're called the Boron Heist, it wouldn't process and put it out for digital streaming on Spotify and SoundCloud and all that. And it took us about 2 or 3 months to figure out that that was the problem.
Yeah.
After sending email after email, day after day, and trying to figure it out. Just the.
Wow. One little "the" caused that many problems.
But since then, we've had some healthy streams of it online, and gotten much more present through that to the band page and everything. If everything had gone as we had hoped, that would have been a good jumping off point for the album.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking we're just going to have to build back up from not square one, but somewhere farther back than when we were once everything reopens. And that's everybody.
Yeah. Well, trust me when I say that every time you get ready to release something new, you always think, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. People are going to take notice. People are going to love this. And then you release it, and the usual suspects, your usual friends and everybody, oh, I love this. It's great. But then you don't get much pop beyond that. So trust me when I say that it might not necessarily be the fact that the way it came out, the way all that happened. It might just be the fact that that's the way the music scene is these days. And I'm hoping I'm hoping that little bit of it changes as well. I'm hoping that maybe people are a little bit more willing to support bands and listen to their music and not just show up when they're playing live.
Take it!
Genre rock performers and stuff. I think in terms of physical releases, we've got it pretty good,
Yeah.
If you compare us to hip hop releases or to electronic music and things like that, they get a lot more streams. They get a lot more digital sales, but those streams, it's what 1,000, 10,000 views for a penny.
Yeah.
So every Beyonce record, every Jay-Z record that comes out, every Kanye record might immediately make platinum because they count a streaming sale or watched as a sale now.
Yeah.
But they're making $1 off of that sale, whereas any rock artist selling their CD is making 10.
Yeah.
We're running in different circles in terms of how distribution is working.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm always a proponent of the idea that if you have a band and you start to build your brand in that band, you can change it in any way you want. Over time, you can change out all the members if you have to, if they all have to go off and do their separate things in life.
Yeah.
You can change your sound completely. But once you've built that brand, it's there, and you have a certain amount of eyes who have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you can do is continue to build it, and if you change the band name, it's not a good thing. So I think in the future, my goal is always to keep doing the Boron Heist no matter what changes. For 10, 20 years, try to keep expanding it, try to tour summers over time, because you never know when you'll be the next Melvins.
Yeah.
where you can make a living out of touring over the summers, just because you've been doing it for 20 years and have the notoriety.
Yeah.
And I think, that's the one thing that rock artists really have going, is there are ways to make it cheap, where it doesn't cost you a lot of money to keep it going.
Yeah.
But if you do keep it going, dividends are there as long as you put your heart and soul into it,
Yeah. That was a good comparison to use, like Melvins, because, Melvins they're not huge, but they can definitely survive off of their music, and they don't have to tour that often. They tour, they put out an album just about every year in one form or another. Mm-hmm. They're always releasing some kind of music, whether it's a Melvins record or it's, some kind of solo project or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they're always touring, but they don't have to work day jobs. I'm sure they've got it figured out, and they don't put that much into it as far as monetarily.
And they're not anomalous. You look at all these other bands that do similar things, like Ween or Ty Segall or King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They just keep putting out stuff, keep touring, keep hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And they never stop.
Yeah.
And in the process, they have a following that'll go see them. They can get on all the big festival circuits. They can make enough money to live as artists,
and never have to quote unquote sell out, or never have to get radio airplay, never get on MTV, or nobody gets on MTV these days, but never have to get any of that exposure that the other bands like Beyonce does. Of course, they're not making Beyonce money, but they're living and they're doing it within their own terms, which I'm sure Beyonce kind of is too, but whatever. That's a different animal altogether. Yeah. So
it's like, what's keeping integrity if you didn't have it all along?
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that.
and like I'm just going to say, I can't take that away from Beyonce, because just because it's not punk rock doesn't mean it lacks integrity. So
That's true. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I'm just a little too harsh.
Well, me too. But that's why I have to remind myself that it's not what I would do. But I think my neighbor just started cutting the grass, because all of a sudden I can hear it. This microphone picks up everything really great. So all of a sudden I'm hearing lawnmower in the headset. I'm just mentioning that in case I can hear it on the recording and it interferes.
Yeah.
I can leave this bit in and be like, that explains it. Yeah, I did want to ask about the solo project.
So, my stage persona, Buffalo Bill Cody.
Yeah.
So it's under that title, and I've got a friend of mine named Willie May. He's just a really good, accomplished acoustic player.
Yeah.
In a lot of different formats, jazz and country, and a little bit of bluegrass. He really wanted to write some songs with me, and we've been wanting to write some stuff together for a while. We sat down before everything happened. We wrote down some stuff, and right now we're just conferencing over the phone. Soon it'll be over laptops and webcams.
Yeah.
We're just writing material right now, kind of some sort of niche between desert rock and Neil Young.
Okay.
The idea is going to have him do the rhythms. I've got a friend, Will Winecoop, the son of Dave Winecoop, previously a Matador Award in the Fighters. And Will Winecoop is going to be laying down some bass tracks for it. I'm going to do some lead tracks for it, as well as second guitars. And talking to a couple people about drums right now.
Yeah.
So basically be my first foray into singing on a record.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So far, I'm just a car and shower singing kind of guy.
I understand that.
But never done it. Well, I've done it once in a live context, but it's completely new for me.
It takes a little getting used to. I used to hate it, but now I don't mind it at all. I just have to be able to sing and play what I'm playing at the same time. That's the tricky part. But it's you get better at that as well. Even if you don't think you can do it at first, if you keep trying it, you can eventually nail it and be like, oh shit, I can do that. I can play that and sing that at the same time.
And that's one good thing I think about the quarantine right now for me on this is I don't have to go out and play shows with the material. I can just work on it at the house. And ideally, because the Boron Heist is my main focus, I would just do the record. None of the people I'm talking to, I think, want to have a full band. So the idea is to record the stuff separately, put out a physical release along with digital releases on the same day as we do one live show. And that would be it.
Yeah.
Premiere it at one live show, put out the record, have it for sale at Boron Heist shows and at the shows of any of these other musicians if they continue on with bands. and, just to build my repertoire of releases through it, basically.
Yeah.
But to do something I've been interested in doing for a while.
I've been contemplating a solo project during this time too, but I still haven't found time to do it. I've been working on learning one cover song, and that's it. I thought I was going to write all these songs, but I've just everything here has ramped up more on the Gabba Gabba high end since we've been quarantined, because now I can do the live shows, and all of a sudden I'm recording extra episodes every week. So eventually I'm going to have enough bank. I'm going to find me a little bit of time to just some downtime, and I think I'll pick it up then and start trying to put those ideas together that I had.
What kind of stuff would you be interested in doing?
Well, I don't really know. The cover song I'm learning is Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers, just because I really want to record a version of that. So I think I'll do that. But if I did just a full solo project, it would probably be a little bit more stoner rockish, maybe. I don't know. I'd like to do a lot of different things. I don't really have a very good idea. I've got a few ideas that I've jammed on with my brother that I could use, but they're all like sort of heavy metal, stoner rockish kind of stuff, doom metal sort of things. Yeah. So that's probably be that with maybe like 2 basses, maybe a guitar, probably a guitar, but definitely 2 basses, 2 bass tracks. One of them fuzzed out really bad, and one of them just kind of more clean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a Zoom recorder that I need to just put into practice. I mean, just use and figure out how to do this stuff. These ideas I've got that I've just thought in my head, and been like, actually make this real now. I just got to find the time to do it. So far, I haven't done that because I'm working full time and doing this. Like, this is almost like another full time job that I don't get paid for.
Yeah. Well, hopefully soon, man, there'll be more ads and Gabba Gabba Hunt, and you can make some revenue off of it.
Well,
it's really cool what you're doing. You need to make money off of it for sure.
I'd like for it to support itself. And so far, I mean, I'm getting some donations through the Patreon. So it's, some of the hosting and everything's kind of paid for, but I've put a lot more money into this. And, granted, a lot of it is me buying music, which is just my personal collection. So I don't expect for that to be paid for. I just bought a microphone. I bought this Zoom recorder because of this. I bought a copier because of this. I bought a bunch of little equipment that's going to take a while for all that stuff to be paid off. I'm not looking to make money off of this, but it would be nice to eventually kind of break even a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the print zine is in limbo at the moment. I really do plan to get one out by the end of the month, by end of May. But it'll all be, one good thing about it will be I won't have to print a whole bunch of them because I'll just print them off as needed and just like ship them out. $3 or whatever. But if anybody wants to buy them, I'll do that. But until we can go back out again, I'm not going to have anywhere to just go drop a whole bunch of them off at. So over the next few months, we may even see that evolve. That idea may go to the wayside depending on, because the podcast seems to be taking off fairly well. The zine's a nice component of it, and I think a lot of people like that. But, unless I get some help with it, I just don't know if I can sustain doing it. So we'll see.
Honestly, I really like the zine. So if you were ever in a bind, like, hey, I need to be a page on this, or there are local releases you want to do a write-up on, or what have you, just send information my way. I'd like to help out.
Yeah, so. I definitely am looking for people, because if I want to keep doing it, I'm going to need help with writing, because it's a lot to do on my own. That's one thing. I don't want to see it go to the wayside, but depending on how all this stuff plays out, it may go to the wayside for a little while. But I would eventually like for it to be like, Queen City Nerve ubiquitous in Charlotte. People can pick it up just about anywhere.
Yeah.
And it be maybe covering the entire Charlotte music scene and not just what I know. But in order to do that, it's going to require, a lot of outside help. And that's going to be, I start to lose interest whenever I have to involve too many other people, because I know what it's like working with other people and having to try to get people to turn stuff in and stuff.
Yeah.
So when I start thinking about making it bigger, there's a part of me that wants to do that, and there's a part of me that goes, "Oh man, it's just going to be a headache. Then I'm not going to enjoy it."
Yeah. Well, maybe keep it the same size, but offload some of the work, so that way, worst case scenario, someone doesn't turn in an article you need, you just write it up.
Yeah.
You're not too far behind. Yeah.
I definitely don't want it to fall completely to the wayside, because I like the fact that it's something to hold in your hand. I think that's important. I think it's extremely important right now. So it may stay at the quote unquote boutique level that it's at right now, but that's okay.
Let me know if there's anything I can do to help with that, for sure.
Definitely. I'm getting ready to start writing the next one. There's not a whole lot of new releases. I mean, there's a few that I can write stuff about. So I'll probably write an article about my first time going to the milestone, and then what the milestones meant to me over the years. I'll probably do a little article about maybe Lunchbox Records, since I wrote about Repo Records last time. Although I don't have any memories of Lunchbox Records, I still want to do a little write-up on them. Do a couple of things like that. Maybe write an article on a band that isn't around anymore. And then write an article about a band that is. And it might be a little bit thinner this time, maybe not quite as many pages, but I'll get something out there.
That sounds pretty cool to me, though, man. You been listening to anything new?
Not really. Honestly, I haven't listened to anything new in a while. Mostly just listening to older stuff these days. Like I listened to the new Screeching Weasel album that came out a couple weeks ago. It was all right.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any reason to go back and listen to it. I'll listen to things like that. I'm just drawing a blank right now. Usually if something comes out, I'll listen to it. But nothing that's like grabbed a hold of me lately that's been like, oh, I got to tell people about this.
Gotcha, yeah. I've been kind of bored lately. Like when I drive to work and back, ran out of CDs. I usually just buy more at Manifest or Repo when I'm out of stuff to listen to in my car or new stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I've been like really going through the shelves at Target and the back shelves, trying to find some stuff I could buy that would be interesting in any way.
Yeah.
There are 4 new records that I think are kind of interesting. So have you heard anything from the Black Keys lately? Black Keys Left to Rock?
I heard a couple of the songs I guess the first 2 songs they released off of that. That one's been out for a little while, hasn't it?
Yeah. Came out, I think, last year.
Yeah.
Late last year, something like that.
I like them all right.
It's cool, man.
Yeah.
That record, though, is like, I've never listened to much Black Keys, but on that one, it's a real T-Rex turn.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way some of the songs are structured, definitely how the guitars are more choppy, less distorted and loud. But it's cool because it's not like, say, like Louis XIV back in the day had T-Rex songs that were exactly like T-Rex.
Yeah.
Lyrically and everything, in terms of how he affects notes and the surreal images they put in your head and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
They're doing T-Rex, but with their own voice.
Okay.
And so I think it's a pretty cool record. I think anybody who likes T-Rex or glam rock or even just garage rock should probably check that one out.
Yeah.
On top of that, The Strokes, The New Abnormal.
I tried to listen to, because I love The Strokes, and I tried to listen to, I guess, the first single they released. It didn't catch me, so it grabbed me. So I have to listen to. I have to listen to that whole Black Keys album too, because again, I'll listen to the singles when they came out, but I don't think I listened to the whole thing.
The Strokes album is kind of, I don't think it's as good as the Black Keys record, but I've listened to it more nonetheless. The 2 lead singles, I think, At the Door is one. It's a really threadbare kind of, what do you call it, like an electronic rock ballad.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And then the other single, Making Bad Decisions, is like I'll Stop the World and Melt with You and Dancing with Myself. Takes both those songs and a bunch of 80s tropes and mixes them up. I think actually Billy Idol has a song credit on that because, otherwise they would probably get sued.
Yeah.
If you get past those 2 songs, the rest of the record is kind of it's this really cool hybrid of stuff.
Yeah.
Everything from new wave to modern, like garage rock revival sensibilities. There's a song where Julian Casablancas is affecting Lou Reed really hard. There's another one where the guitar player is affecting Robert Quine, and the really loud squeals of distortion, and it's a very weird record.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of fits the times, especially that name, The New Abnormal.
Yeah.
It's Ren,
Yeah.
Then, you ever listen to any Tame Impala?
I've listened to them before. I've never really gotten that into them.
Yeah. It's this new record, The Slow Rush, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
It's not rock at all. It's not anything in that wheelhouse. It's like electronic pop, psychedelia in a way. It's a good record if you're into that sort of thing. And a lot of people were really looking forward to The Weeknd's new record this year, which I think completely fell flat. It's horrible. If you didn't like that, Tame Impala Slow Rush is the way to go for something in that wheelhouse that's just infinitely better. And the last record I've been listening to is actually a disappointment, and it's The Who, The Who's new record.
Okay.
Pete Townsend produced it, and there's a lot of auto-tune going on.
Yeah.
A lot. Voices are not as good. The songs aren't as good as anything that they came out with pre-80s,
Yeah.
or even through the mid-80s. There's only one good track on it, I think, and it's a bonus track towards the end that is affecting the 1960s British invasion style,
Yeah.
vocally and everything. So that's a really cool track. It's almost worth the price to purchase, but for 14 tracks of bad music otherwise, I
Yeah.
don't get it. It's really disappointed with that, you know?
Yeah. Well, The Who is one of those bands that I've always respected, and I like some of their stuff, but I've never really loved them a whole lot. And I know some people do. I know your dad is a huge Who fan.
Yeah.
But they've never really grabbed me like they did other people. But especially when bands like that are still putting out music, I generally like check out like way before. So if I even knew that the Who put out a new record, I'd have been, there's no way I'd even checked it out. So I might actually go listen to it just because you said that, or at least try to find that one track. But I don't know.
It's definitely worth a listen, but I'd do it online.
Yeah, yeah,
buy it
yeah. I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna buy it. I'll find it on Spotify or whatever.
Trying to think if there's anything else new musically that's coming out that's pretty cool. I think Ty Segall just did a record of Nielsen Schmielsen, you know, Harry Nielsen's record.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did a cover of songs off of Nielsen Schmielsen.
Okay.
It's called Siegel Schmiegel.
He's always
pretty
putting.
interesting.
I can't keep up with that dude. He's always putting something out.
He's prolific, man.
Yeah.
I think last year he had maybe like 5 or 6 records.
Yeah.
Multiple bands, you know, like White. I think he has a band, Joy, another one called White Fence,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just whenever those guys want to go out on tour, they'll get up with a group of people, work for a few weeks, put out a cool record, and then go out and make a bunch of money on the tour circuit.
Yeah.
Got it made, man.
It'd be nice.
A lot of it's good stuff too. So
yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have that all figured out.
keep at it. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 46. I've kind of given up on my rock star dreams, but there's still a part of me that goes, and you never know when it might happen.
Absolutely.
So I haven't completely given up on it. I just don't think about it like I did when I was younger. Of course, I think once I realized that I was going to be punk rock and not in heavy metal, I kind of gave up on those dreams of living off of my music anyway.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager and I was like a Motley Crue fan at that point. Oh yeah, I want to play in a band and make millions of dollars, but then when you're 20 and you're listening to the Minutemen, you realize, oh yeah, the best I can do is drive around in a van and eat off the dollar menu.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That was really cool what Mike Watt did. Was it about a week and a half ago for the milestone?
Oh yeah, when he was on that. I was at work. I was washing dishes when he was playing, so I got to watch him while I was washing dishes.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I'm not sure how they did that. I guess Milestone just approached him and asked him if he'd do it, or emailed him or something.
I guess so.
Yeah, Milestone operating costs are still there, so
yeah.
But he went out to do that live stream. It's a testament to the Milestone and all that it stands for, that someone of Mike Watt's stature would come out, do a live stream to help support it.
Yeah, just playing bass and singing the songs, man. That was badass. That was awesome. I loved it. And
yeah.
I just saw him in October in Nashville, and I've seen him several times now, but man, he was so good. It was Mike Watt and the Missing Men, which I've seen that combination a couple of times. Except this time, his usual drummer wasn't on tour with him, so he had this kid playing drums with him. I say kid, he's probably about 24. He's so good, and it was mostly just Minutemen songs, and he played a couple Stooges songs, and he played The Red and the Black by Blue Oyster Cult, and he played I can't remember what else he played. He played a handful of covers, but it's mostly Minutemen songs. It was just so good, so good.
That's awesome.
That guy he's amazing. He's my favorite of all time. Not just my favorite bass player. He's my favorite musician of all time. He's just so good and such a cool guy.
Yeah. Hope everything clears up before too long, because I mean, not only is all this taking a toll on bands, like there's a lot of optimism going on right now about, we've obviously talked a little bit about it. Hopefully more people will be out after this. Hopefully more people will be buying more stuff from bands and supporting more. But at the same time, it's taking a lot away from us. I'm sure there are a lot of bands that are just breaking up right now because, you get to a certain point in your music where you practice a lot. You're in your wheelhouse. If you take a few months off, you might not be there anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I worry about that.
You have to relearn new songs, but also like John Prine, man. Like losing John Prine, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
he's up there with Town Van Zandt and Bob Dylan in terms of songwriters, American songwriters, and who knows who else is going to go before this is all over. A lot of those old guard guys are the guys that keep up the touring industry for rock for us. Without a Bruce Springsteen, how many big New Jersey opening, rock bands are going to get out there and be able to tour in front of hundreds of thousands of people?
Yeah,
that's the meal ticket, the way to get your name out there. So
I worry about that, like the people that we've, like you said, we've already lost, and the people that we may lose, and then I also worry about like just the venues and things like that. Now, and we talk about the venues that support the scene, places like Repo Record as well. But now I've talked to Jimmy, and I think he's okay. At Tommy's, they seem to be pretty optimistic about everything. I think the Milestone's in a good position right now to where they should be okay when this all comes back. But I still worry about the long-term impact of this, whether some of these places will make it out on the other side. And exactly what it's going to be like on the other side. Is the consumer confidence going to be there for them to even to support themselves once everything does open back up? And just way too many unknowns about all this. But ultimately, I'm optimistic that on the other side of it, that maybe as a people in this country, maybe we were a little bit less divided. Although, as of right now, you wouldn't convince me of that, because I think right now people are getting a little bit more divided in certain ways. But I think on the other side of this, maybe we'll all be a little less divided. It'll be a better place. The world will be a little bit of a better place. And maybe the music scene will be a better place too, as long as we still have places that we can play.
I hope so, because, the other possibility is it gets a lot worse,
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably just as possible.
Because you got people like my brother who tends to think that once this is all over with, people aren't going to want to go out anymore, that people are going to be ready to stay at home and not trust the world anymore, and that there's going to be a vastly different place in that regard. And I'm like, man, I certainly hope not.
For a lot of things, for instance, automation, this is a perfect time, because so many workers can't work. So many businesses are like, we've got the loans, we're going to put our money into automation. People keep saying, like Ray Kurzweil and other technologists, that within 20 years, 30 to 50% of the American workforce is going to be replaced by automation. New forms of labor will probably open up, but this might just force a lot of the world to have UBI and things like that, universal basic income, just because there won't be enough jobs, So who knows, man? That would be a good outcome, but also a bad one for a long time. It's going to be a long time where people struggle.
Yeah. But I think about that, and this is getting really, really deep into that, but you think about the number of jobs that will be left after automation, and maybe we'll go more to a society where nobody works full time. Nobody works 40 hours anymore. We all work half of that. And you get that, like you said, that UBI or something like that helps support the rest of that time. Or, you just make much better money for the 15 hours that you work that week or whatever.
The way it's all set up now is there's so many companies that make money off of your personal information online, that make money off of your ad revenue based on your views of online websites. There are companies that, the entire service industry makes money secondhand. It's not producing, in the sense of creating a product. It's just selling products that other people have created in a factory somewhere, or a machine could create in a factory somewhere or on a factory farm.
Yeah.
So more and more, I think the idea that you should be paid for labor is becoming a little bit maybe outdated. You should be paid for being a consumer who is manipulated and exploited in terms of everything else. We're going to take all your physical data, we're tracking all your phone calls and all that. So, because of all of this information you give us that businesses like it, pay us for, we're just going to pay you to just, buy stuff and have a self-replicating economy. It's crazy to think about, but I guess it's possible.
But it's possible. It's a crazy world we live in. So I know there's some people that don't like that idea at all because they feel like if you don't work hard, you shouldn't get more money.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You find a way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to stop them. They can go out and work and get money if they want it.
Yeah. You can work your ass off. Go ahead. Go right ahead. We're cool with that.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh man, it's funny though.
Is there anything else you can think of you want to talk about? I mean, because this episode will be all over the place, but I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I knew this one would be a little bit different because you don't have as much of a history in the music scene.
I'm not sure. Keep abreast of what's going on. Personally, with Boron Heist, we will be back in the fall or in the winter. Keep an eye out for Buffalo Bill Cody solo record. And if you're not a member yet, go ahead and join the Garage Gods of Charlotte to get more information about garage rock, psych rock, garage punk from all the way from the 1960s to now. Right now, our featured artist is the Paragons from the 60s. Go and check them out for their awesome single, ABBA. And next month's feature will be Self-Made Monsters, my favorite North Carolina band. I hope you go and talk to Eddie Ford, or talk to them on their Facebook page, order those CDs, get them. They are some of the best recordings I've ever heard out of North Carolina, flat duo jets included.
Yeah, they're badass. Although I'm going to say I'll put flat duo jets above that, but that's personal preference. Yeah. But they are badass for sure. And that's the Garage Gods of Charlotte. That's THEE, and then the Gods is a Z, and the of is an OV.
Yep.
Figure all that out.
It's all fucked up, but you'll find it. It's linked to the Boron Heist page. It's also linked to my page, so you should be able to find it, no problem. And thank you for having me on, man.
Well, thank you for
fun talking.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and I look forward to editing this one. This one probably come out.
Shut up and go. 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 I can't say no. Get off the floor. Gotta get more. Shut up and go. 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 I can't say no. Get off the floor. Gotta get more. My diamonds in the rough, and I had enough. Gotta break down the cage, and I need more room to reach. My diamonds in the rough, and I had enough. Gotta break down the cage, and I need more room to reach. And go, shut up and go. Shut up and go. Shut up and go. Shut up and go. I can't say no. Get off the floor. Gotta get more. Shut up and go. I can't say no. Get off the floor. Get up and go. The diamonds in the rough, and I had enough. Gotta break down the cage, and I need more room to reach. My diamonds in the rough, and I had enough. Gotta break down the cage, and I need more room to reach. And go! Shut up and go! Shut up and go! Shut up and go!
least there's a chance that in the next month or so, I might at least be able to go to Repo Record and shop and run into some people I know, or be like, hey, let's all meet up at Repo and go record shopping. We can't see a show right now, but we can shop for records together. This has been a Gabba Gabba Hunt Media production.